Al Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Nazir Daf Amud Aleph, 18a1. We just said, Disal Kadaitach, but if you're going to think, yeah, he says over here, if you're going to think, right, Tiglachat, Tum'ah, right, that if right now the kavanah is to do with Tiglachat Tum'ah, Yemei Chiluto Milobai Tiglachat, when he's going to be finishing his Yemei Chiluto, he does not need a Tiglachat. So the Gemara answers Tiglachat de Nezirut Tani. We're talking about Tiglachat of Nezirut. Fine, but that's what we finished off yesterday. We're going to start now with the new Gemara right now, Tashema. Okay? Remember that yesterday we spoke about the entire concept that when a person is a mitzorah, when they finish mitzorah, they have to shave off their hair. And also the same halacha would apply after Nezirut, that they shave off all the hair. Okay? Fine. Today there's a new Gemara, Tashema. We're on second line. Tashema. We're trying to bring a re'ayah from the Braita, and it says over there, "V'chiyamut met alav befeta pitom." Imagine somebody just drops dead. It was peta pitom. It was unannounced. Nobody knew about it. V'timeh rosh nizro. Now he became tameh. He was a nazir, and he becomes tameh. So it says that they have to cut off his hair. V'gilach rosho b'yom taroto b'yom hashvi'i galachenu. And then on the yom hashmini, on the 8th day, he brings the shtetorim. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara, Betahor shenitzma hakatuv medaber. We are talking about a tahor shenitzma. What are we talking about? The Nazir was tahor, and then he became tameh. Shehu taun avarat se'ar vavat tzipurim. He has to take off all his hair, shave off all his hair when it becomes pure. Plus, he has to bring korban tzipurim. Remember the Nazir and Mitzorah, they bring two birds, shte tziporim, which is called also a ken, right? What is a ken, right? Kan tzipor, right? The ken is the two birds, a group of birds. Liftor et nazir bekever, right? It's going to come and it's going to exempt the nazir, right? When he's going to be in this comes to exempt the nazir, if he's going to be in the bet hakvarot, she'en ta'un avarat se'ar vavat tziporim. He does not need it, which means like this. Yesterday we spoke about the case. Imagine a person's in the middle of the cemetery. Yeah, he's in the Bet HaKvarot. And now he comes and he says, I'm a Nazir. But he's in the cemetery. Yeah, exactly. He's in the cemetery. So the question, it's Tumah. So the question is, does he have to cut off all his hair and bring the tziporim, the birds, or no? Because it's not chal. It's kilu that the Nazirut was not chal, but he's in the cemetery. He can't make himself into a Nazir when he's already right here in the middle of the Tumah. So says the Gemara, so why don't we just bring a proof from here that it's only a person that's tahor, a Nazir that's tahor that becomes tameh. He has to bring, right? He has to bring the two tziporim and he has to cut off all his hair. And not somebody that's already tameh because he's in the cemetery and then he accepts upon himself Nazirut. So says the Gemara, it's a kal v'chomer. Uma tahor shenitma. If we're talking about a Nazir tahor, that he becomes tameh, and he needs havarat se'ar, taun havarat se'ar vavat tziporim. So mishayat tameh mitchila. If somebody that's already tameh, enodin sheitonu. So obviously you should need havarat se'ar and havarat tziporim. So Talmud Omar comes teach you v'timeh rosh nizro v'mishayat tahor v'nitma katuv medaber. Only when it says v'timeh rosh nizro, he was already Nazir. What type of a Nazir? A tahor Nazir. And then he became tameh. Right? So that's exactly what actually comes out. So we learn from here that somebody that's mekabel himself Nazirut, when he's already tameh, he does not cut his hair on the 7th day. Remember, when a person becomes tameh met, anyway, it's 7 days, correct? He becomes tameh for 7 days, but he doesn't cut his hair after the 7 days. Okay? The cutting off of the hair is only if he was tahor, and then he became tameh. But if he was already tameh, no cutting of the hair. Okay? Okay? So, man tana had tanu Rabbanan. Who's the one that teaches this braita? Where it says, en ben tameh shenazar nazir tahor shenitma, ela shetameh shenazar hashvi shelo lo min minyan, v'nazir tahor shenitma in yom hashvi shelo lo min minyan. We're asking the following braita. We asked the following question. The Braita there says there's no difference between a Nazir that's tahor, that becomes tameh, or a Nazir that he was never a Nazir. He's in the Bet HaChalim, he makes himself into a Nazir, right? What's the difference between them? The seventh day. Do we say that the seventh day counts as the first day of Nazirut or not? A Nazir Tahor, when he becomes Tameh, he needs 7 days of Tumah. And then on the 8th day, right, he's Tahor that he brings, whether it's going to be the Tziporim and all these things, that's the first day of the Tahara process again, of Nazirut. But a person that's already Tameh, right, and now he makes himself into a Nazir, his 7th day of Tum'ah, right, that he's finishing the process of Tum'ah, counts as the first day of Nazirut. So says the Gemara, if you're going to tell me that the only difference between a Tameh Shenazar, meaning a person that's Tameh, that he made himself into a Nazir, or a person that's Tahor, Nazir Tahor, Shenitma, that he became Tameh, the only difference between them, is what? Is the Shavi Shelo, Im Zeu Levin Aminyan or not, the 7th day, does it count or doesn't it count? So he says, 1 second, if you're going to tell me that that's the only difference between them, you just told me also another difference between them is that you have to cut off all his hair and the korbanot. Yeah? So he comes and he says, or basically cutting off the hair, the korban anyway he has to bring because it's tameh. So Amar Rav Chasta says, Rav Chasta, you're right, it's Rabbi. It's Rabbi. The Amar Rabbi was Rabbi says, En Nazirut Ta'ara Chala Ad Yom HaShemini. There's no Nazirut, which is Chal, until the 8th day. The Ite Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yudah, we're going to tell me Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yudah, Hamar Nazirut Ta'ara Mishvi Hu Dechayla. He says that it's already going to be Chal on the 7th day already. Right? Because once they came and they did the Hazah, and he did Tevila, so therefore that's it. And we just said that the Braita says that you're still going to be Chal on the 8th day. So my Rabbi, where is this machlok between Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yudah? The Tanya we learned in the Braita. V'kidash et rosho bayomahu. We're talking about a Nazir that became Tameh. And we said that on the 8th day, he's going to bring Shte Torim. And it says, V'kidash et rosho bayomahu. You're going to start counting the Nazirut on that day. B'yom avad korbanotav, on the day that he brings a korban, right, which is the 8th day, that's when you start counting. These are the words of Rabbi. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yudah Omer, b'yom tiglachto, when he cuts off his hair, meaning like this. When a person is a Nazir and he becomes Tameh, there's a process to become pure. Remember that the first process of becoming pure is always going to be waiting 7 days. Any person that's Tameh met, always 7 days. They're going to come and they're going to sprinkle him on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day with the effort of the para aduma. Yes, yes. Yeah, he has to start again. Okay, the effort of the para aduma. Now what happens is, on the 7th day, they cut off all his clothing. And then on the 8th day, he brings his korbanot. So one more time. 7th day, they cut off all, what did I just say before? Cut off all his hair. I don't know what I said. Clothing. Cut off all his hair. Yeah, a person on the 7th day, they come, right, he does tiglachat. Tiglacha means that they cut off all his hair. And then on the 8th day, they bring the korban. So when exactly do you start the counting of the Nazirut again? Do you start it when he already went to the mikveh and he cut his hair on the 7th day? Or do you start it on the 8th day when he brought his korban? That is a machloke between Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yudah. Rabbi says, Bayom avad korbanotav, when you bring the korban, the 8th day. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yudah says, B'yom tiglachto, on the 7th day.
So that's only true for the Nazir that became
Nazir. That which we learned in the Mishnah. Nazir shenitma tumat harbeh, tumot harbeh, eno mevilu korban echad. Imagine a Nazir became tameh with a lot of tumot. How many korbanot does he bring? He became tameh met for 10 people.
For 10 people?
Yeah, 10 people. There were 10 different people that he was tameh met. He didn't become tameh met for one met. There were 10 metim.
Was only one to matmet.
So he says, "Eno mevi ela korban echad." He's going to bring one korban. Okay. So he comes and he says, "Man Tana, who's the Tana that says that?" Amar Rav Chasta. Rav Chasta says, "Rav Yosef Rabbi Yudah." The Amar Nazirut Tara mishvi chayla. But he says the Nazirut Tara is going to be chal on the 7th day.
So the korban the tziporim?
Yes. Umashkach alayim, we find it kegon shenitzma bashvi vechazar v'nitzma bashvi. So he says, right now you became tameh on the 7th day, and then again you became tameh on the 7th day. Okay, and then Kevin de lo yatsa l'sha'ar reuya lavi korban. since you never came out in the proper time to bring a korban because it wasn't the 8th day yet, so that's why you're only going to be chayav, one korban. Rabbi, but if you're going to tell me it's Rabbi, if he became tameh on the 7th day, and then again he became tameh on the 7th day, it's all going to be one tumaruka, because according to him, there's no nezirut of tarat mitchilet until the shmini. So therefore, it's only just one tuma. So therefore, there's no chidush there. If you're going to tell me now it was nitma on the 8th day, and then again chazar v'nitma b'shmini on the 8th day, right? So then it comes out the time that it's going to be fitting to bring a korban. Yeah?
It doesn't matter how many.
It says the Gemara, "My tama de Rabbi." What's the reasoning of Rabbi then? He comes and he says, right? He comes and he says like this. He says, "Amakar." The pasuk says, "V'chiper elav me'ashech hatal nafesh v'hadar v'kidesh rosho." First, you need that it's v'chiper elav me'ashech hatal nafesh, and then v'kidash rosho, which means you're not going to start the counting of the nezirut again until you have a kapara. When is a kapara? The 8th day when you bring the korban. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, but according to Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, if so, leima krav v'kidashet rosho. It should have said v'chiper alav v'kidashet rosho, and then it's going to be mashma the yom kaparato, right? Yudchet amubet 18b. So bayom ahu la'amali. So why does it say then bayom ahu on that day? Meno inyan l'shmini. If you don't need it for the 8th day, right? Because it's extra. Teneu inyan l'shvi. So then it's going to be the 7th day. So that's why he says that already on the 7th day, it's going to count for the Nezirut. So they're both learning it from a pasuk, Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi, first you need the kapara, and then v'kidash et rosho, you become a Nazir again, meaning you start the process of the counting Nezirut again. And according to Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, it was extra. And since it's extra, if you don't need it for the 8th day, you're going to use it for the 7th day. So the 7th day is already when you're going to start. Right after you come and you shave off all your hair, you're going to start the process of Nezirut again. Says the Gemara Rabbi Nami. Rabbi also, it's written Vayomahu. Amalecha Rabbi is going to tell you Hahu lehachi udata. This is what you need it for. Amalecha to tell you Avavi shelo yavi korbanotav, even though you still didn't bring the korbanot. Okay. So says the Gemara Rav Chasta. My duchke leokma Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rav Chasta, that he says, right? Why is it that we're actually coming and saying that a person is going to become tameh on the 2nd time around? Maybe it's like Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. Lukma kigonda nitma dechazia belel shmini. Why don't we just say that he's going to be, right, that he became tameh on the laila lifnei yom shmini, which is basically going to be that he already started the nezirut. V'Rebbi, and it's going to be Rabbi. So says the Gemara, midilo mokim la kerebbi lema kasava laila mechusar zmanhu. Since we didn't come and we didn't say that this is going to be like shitat Rabbi, we didn't want to say that laila is lav mechusar zman. So it's ki'ilu that it's already the time of the korbanot, which means like this: even though the korbanot are only brought during the day, we come and we say that since the Torah said that it's biyom hashmini, it already starts on the nighttime, right? So he said that's what it means, that lav mechusar zman. It's not lacking time. Meaning like this: when do you bring the korbanot? On the 8th day. But when does night always start? The night before, the 7th, after the 7th day, at that night. So he says, since Laila is lav mechusar zman, so you could already start counting from that nighttime. Yeah. So Amar Ravada Barava says Ravada Barava, ha be'hatalia. It's going to be, no, you can't bring it, but it's not considered mechusar zman. So he says, so if so, right? He says, ha be'hatalia. These things are going to be tulim zebazeh, which means Iamarta Laila mechusar zman. If you're going to tell me that Laila is considered mechusar zman, eimat michsi le korban. I'm going to say that it's going to be fitting for a korban. Letzafra, right? Only in the morning. Nezirut nami lo chayla tzafra. So he says Nezirut also is not going to be, right, chal until the morning. Via Marta, now you're going to tell me Laila eno mechusar zman, that Laila is not going to be considered mechusar zman. Nezirut tahara chayla meorta. So therefore he comes and he says, right? He says like this. He says Nezirut is going to be already from the nighttime, the beginning, which means like this: the Tumah Chadasha is actually bringing him to bring another korban. Because if you're going to tell me already the Chiyuv La'aviyah to korban is already on the nighttime, so he's not going to be patur for the fact that he brings the first korban. So it comes out that if you're going to tell me that Laila is mechusar zman or eno mechusar zman, anyway, you can't say that it's according to Rabbi. So therefore, you cannot tell me that Laila is mechusar zman or not. So let's try to understand it then. So he says like this: Gufa nitma, right? Bashvi v'chazar v'nitma bashvi. Imagine a person comes and he becomes tameh on the Yom HaShavi. Yeah, on the second time around also. V'chazar v'nitma on third time, also bashvi. Eno mevi elo korban echad. So imagine, a person is a Nazir. He becomes tameh, he has to count 7 days. 7th day comes, boom, tameh again. Again, starts the 7-day count. 7th day comes again, boom, again tameh. So he keeps on becoming tameh by Yom HaShavi on the 7th day, which is the last day of his purification process. Right? So he only brings one korban. Why? Because remember, the korban is always brought on the 8th day. On the 8th day. Right? So therefore he comes and says, here it was always on the 7th day. So he says, what happens now? Nitzma b'shmini v'chazar v'nitzma b'shmini if he becomes tameh on the 8th day. And again, he becomes tameh on the 8th day. Mevi korban al kol echad ve'echad. He has to bring korban on every single one, benifrad, separately. Yeah, so he's going to bring a korban, everyone separately. Matchil u'moneh miyad, and he's going to start the nezirut immediately. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. The Chachamim come and they say, korban ala kol, echad ala kol. You bring one korban, ad sheyavi chatato, until you bring your chatat. Ve'yavi et chatato v'nitma. But if you brought your chatat and then you became tameh, right? So then, mevi korban ala kol echad ve'echad. Then you have to bring a korban on each one. Hevi chatato ve'lo hevi et hashamo. But if you brought the chatat but not the hasham, moneh, then you're going to start, right, the new counting, okay, and therefore it's going to be different in the korbanot, meaning that he has to bring a korban chatat and an asham. Okay, the truth is also an Allah. Okay, Rabbi Ishmael ben Osher Yocham Memluka Omer, keshem shechatato yikavato ken hashamu ma'akeveto, which means that just like the bringing of the chatat is me'akev from him to start the new count, so too the bringing of the asham also stops him from starting the new count. Okay, that means according to what we until now were learning, you have to bring a korban. When you bring the korban, you start the count. Which one of the korbanot? Everything, or only your korban chatat? Chatat is a sin offering, and asham is a guilt offering. So, is it that the second you brought your chatat, now you could start your new count, or is it you need to bring all your korbanot? So says the Gemara, I understand Rabbi Eliezer, because the pasuk says v'kidash et rosho bayom hahu she'af al pi shelo yavi korban tov. What does it mean bayom hahu, on that day? Even though you didn't bring the korbanot, right? What happens? Right? You're going to start. That means even though you didn't bring korbanot at all, you purified yourself. You did tevilah. They sprinkled you. That's it. Now you're already pure. But according to the rabbis, when it says bayom hahu, af al pi shelo yavi et hashamo, even though you didn't bring your asham. Why? Because once you brought part of your korbanot, right, you're already, that's it, you're already clean. Ela Rabbi Ishmael the chatat. Okay? But according to Rabbi Ishmael, when it says vayom hahu lamali, what do I need vayom hahu? Amalecha, he says vayom hahu af al pi shelo yavi et olato. You brought your chatat and you brought your asham, but you didn't bring your korban olah. Remember, there are 3 different korbanot. Chatat is a sin offering by accident, right? Asham is a guilt offering on purpose. And olah is a positive, is it right? Which one?
Machshavot.
Yes, that's the machshavot and everything else. That's the olah, or positive commandments. So therefore, he wants to say that the korban to do with bayom hahu is a korban olah, because he said so therefore, when it says bayom hahu, it's coming le ma'et. It's coming to be ma'et the korban haolah. On the Rabbanan, and according to the rabbis, olah lo by a miuta. You don't need a miut, right? By a korban olah, because doron be'almahu, because it's a present. Meaning, there's a big difference between a korban olah and a chatat v'asham. If I wanted to bring a present now to the Beit HaMikdash, I could bring a chatat, a sin offering,
Just
a present to the Beit HaMikdash.
No.
Can I bring a sin offering? Why not?
It's a sin of
It's a sin offering. What are you doing?
Bring olah.
You're bringing a sin offering to Hashem. I'm a big tzaddik. I'm bringing a sin offering. Or can I bring an Hashem? No. An olah, you could.
Huh?
It's not even shochad. Worse than shochad. Because kilu, you're being happy that kilu I sinned. Well, you sinned. If you sinned, bring a sin offering. If you didn't sin, what do you're bringing a sin offering to Hashem? You're bringing chatat? Well, an olah could come as a matana. So that's why he says you don't need a mute. My time out the Rabbanan. So what's the reasoning of the Rabbanan? It says v'kidashat rosho b'yomahu. So therefore he says, what is the mute? Tanya, he says in the Braita, ziro la'Hashem et yimen yizro v'vi keves ben shnato la'Hasham. Ma Talmud lomar, what's going to teach you? V'fi shvatzinu shekol hashemot shebatorah sheme'akvin yachol af ze me'akev. Usually an asham is me'akev. An asham is always impedes, just like a chatat, it impedes. So I would have thought here also impedes. Talmud lomar comes to teach you, Yutet Amud Aleph on the top, v'hizir v'hevi. What does that mean? Af al pi shelo hevi, even though you didn't bring the asham, hizir, you start the count. Meaning, there's a special limud over here. The second you brought your chatat, it's already enough. You don't need anything else. You brought your chatat,
means
it's
that
already
the
enough.
Nazir is more a sinner than somebody else.
Yes. He needs his chatat, even more than the asham. Then it says, when do you start your Nazirut? Only when you bring the asham beforehand. So that means it comes out one more time. Machloket. One shita says, right, which is not what we're going by right now. One shita says that even before the korbanot, on the seventh day, Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, you start counting your new count of Nazirut. That's number one. Number two, right? Shita number two, no. Eighth day, because you have to bring your korbanot. But which korban? Chatat. Next shita, Rabbi Ishmael ben Osh, no. Eighth day, but you have to bring your chatat and asham. But you don't need to bring your olah. So three different shitot. When you're going to start the new process of counting your nazir. Okay, that's a sikum. Look at the sikum, the summary on the bottom. Summary on the bottom. Everyone has it in the art scroll. You have a sikum, a summary. Yeah, the sikum. I don't know what number each one has it. I have it in number 3. I don't know what number you have it. Do you have a summary there? Yes, Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi, and Chachamim, and then Rishon Baruch. That Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, right, is what? Is that the Nazirut already starts on the 7th day. Rabbi says it's on the 8th day, even if you didn't bring the korbanot at all. Chachamim said it's the 8th day, but you brought your chatat, and Rabbi Shimon Baruch says on the 8th day, but you have to bring the chatat and asham. There's your summary. Okay? Very good. Have a wonderful day, everyone.